you need a niche. You need
Yep.
to have that, like you're the guy that does this. You're the guy that does this. Like for
Yep.
me, a lot of my content, I'm the dude in the bubble in the corner. You know?
I think accessibility changes the landscape of how things work and how business models work and how markets work, because similar to what you were saying is when young Susie or whatever can sit in her room and all of a sudden that entire household's buying power shifts, its accessibility, its class shifts, it's just all of that kind of stuff shifts. It's like anymore it's very similar to what happened to the landscape of college and education, when you used to have to have a certain family last name or a status or a certain community or whatever to access information. Then the internet changed that, and essentially if you're well researched and you have a level head on your shoulders and a little bit of R&D skills or whatever, you could essentially, and obviously there's, this is a very blanketed statement, but you could research 60-80% of stuff that people are paying $150,000, $200,000 for, if you know how to connect the right pieces. Same thing with media. Then media was next, like education was first, media was next. It's like now we're discovering, wait, this entire time these people who were getting paid 10, 20, $30 million to act, and then the companies that were spending, 10, 20, $30 million on the ads and marketing and the tours or whatever to do a 100, 200, $500 million. Only a few, movies ever hit the, $1 billion box office, or whatever. It's like, oh, wait, this is, we touched this a little bit, but like, this is what they were doing the whole time. That's all that they were doing. This is what media relations are. This is what production is like. This is what talent acquisition is like. This is what distribution is like. This is what market, that's all it is. We can do this a lot more efficient, which means now that you have so many people who are aware of that and it's accessible, that word accessibility I was talking about, now the landscape of media is a lot more dynamic, just in general of what's available. So what's interesting is now Facebook has almost a very apparent competitor, which is its traditional competitors, people who are other platforms and whatnot that have data, like big data on their audiences, but they also have a silent competitor, which is now the diverse and dynamic media landscape of individual and decentralized creators who can pull just as much weight as you data-wise and creatively and work almost in like a black market layer of media relationships on these platforms and just sort of in the media landscape. So I think it's so interesting that accessibility to information and tools and resources changes the landscape of how things work really quickly. And you find out who's bullshitting and who was doing things the right way, who wasn't doing things the right way, all that kind of stuff,
Changes the landscape completely. Like Hollywood is, I don't want to say Hollywood's fucked, but it's really in bad shape. Of course, with the whole like pedophilia stuff, that's
right.
that aside. But LA, people just leaving LA because it's just a hot mess over there right now. But not just that, because you have, like when we were talking about Mulan earlier, just discussing that up front, I noticed on the sidebar on the website I was on said the budget was $200 million. Okay.
Jesus.
$200 million. Okay. Are they going to make it back? Maybe, maybe not. It doesn't matter. The whole point is, if you want to get 50 or 100 million views, you look at Addison Rae or, Charlie D'Amelio, these people on TikTok, and they get 50 million, 75 million views on a video from a phone that costs next to nothing. And their collab or their film crew is someone behind the phone, maybe them and someone else just doing something for 15 seconds. And that brings in 100 million views.
Right.
So this is why you go to Kylie Jenner or something like, hey, I want to post something on your Instagram account. Okay, it's $1 million for a post.
Right.
Right. That's why, because when you have X hundreds of millions of people seeing it, if that's your target audience and you nail it, you're going to make a lot of money. That's going to be a joke. That's going to be a quick return. So you have all this investment, all this synchronization, not to mention with COVID, not to mention with the limitations and now the extra precautions, the extra money for testing, for private shuttles, for just the extra steps. It's making it more and more like, bro, like for me, and we've talked about this, the more like I've invested in my equipment, and we've talked about this, and it's amazing. Like, and you see this on the more I invest in equipment, the less fancy I get with my execution.
Right.
Like I'm actually going back to summer 16 with how I'm creating content. Like, okay, it's not about getting the next best camera, like a sharper. It's about, okay, I have this to invest in. How am I going to make it easier for me to execute content and just pump it out?
Yep.
It's all about just doing it because there's so much out there. You have to find that niche. Like, okay, where do you break through?
Yeah.
Are you going for quality? Are you that Peter McKinnon? Are you that YouTube person that does amazing cinematic? Cool. You can crush with that. You can. I see people doing their own personal like documentaries. I'm going to send you like one or two. There's a channel that I found that, dude, this guy puts out legit documentaries, and he just like does it himself. And it's you would see that on TV and be like, damn, like he's posted like 10 videos and has like.
Nick and I were talking about this recently about how these guys,
if you do it well enough, you can, or are you the person that does just like, you need a niche. You need to have that. Like, you're the guy that does this. You're the guy that does this. Like for me, a lot of my content, I'm the dude in the bubble in the corner. You know, a lot of people do the square in the lower corner. A lot of people do this. I do with my style in the corner with my motion. Like I have my style. And it's more important that people realize that they have the ability to niche and to be themselves. Like I have my style in my way, and my content is me talking about the subjects I want to talk about. Some people like to do cartoons or cosplay. It's like you need to pick something, and that's why you need to have a niche, like a very specific way. Like depending on what you're doing, you have to niche from the back end. But on the front end, you have to distribute it everywhere. So the niche is fine, but people get that confused. People get a niche confused with, oh, I'm only doing Twitter, or I only do TikTok, or I only do this in this style. So no, you have to do that style and be you and have that niche, but then expand it everywhere. Otherwise, you're just a flash in a pan. Like, can you imagine? I know I'm jumping around, but imagine all the creators on TikTok that are just literally swinging in the balance, like in the breeze, depending on who the hell buys it.
Legitimately,
like their entire business, all their quote fame and success. You want to see mental health problems. Just get rid of everyone's followers on TikTok, and you're going to have suicides will go off the chart.